Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Quotes 365. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt stuck in the emotional grip of someone, even when you knew it was time to let go? Maybe it's a partner who's no longer good for you, a friend who constantly drains your energy, or even a family member whose actions keep weighing on your heart. It's a difficult and often painful place to be, isn't it? Emotional attachment can feel like a heavy chain, keeping you tied to situations that no longer serve your peace or growth. But what if I told you that there's a way to break free? Not by becoming cold or indifferent, but by embracing the art of detachment. Folks, detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. Instead, it means you learn to care without letting your emotions control you. And that's exactly what today's video is about. Mastering the Stoic art of emotional detachment. Now, before we dive in, let's clear up a common misconception. Emotional detachment isn't about building walls or shutting people out. It's about creating space between your emotions and your actions. It's about stepping back so you can respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Think about it like this. If your emotions are a raging storm, detachment is the shelter that keeps you safe and steady. This is where Stoicism becomes your greatest ally. The Stoics believed that we suffer not because of external events, but because of how we interpret and respond to them. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Or, what he meant is that while we can't always control what happens, we can always control how we process it. Imagine the freedom that comes with mastering this principle. When someone's words or actions no longer dictate your mood, you reclaim your power. When you learn to detach from outcomes and focus on what you can control, you find peace even in chaos. And when you let go of unhealthy attachments, you create space for relationships that truly nurture and uplift you. Folks, this isn't about losing connection. It's about finding balance. In today's video, we'll walk through 7 Stoic rules that will help you emotionally detach from someone without losing yourself in the process. These aren't just theoretical ideas. They're practical, actionable steps that you can start applying today. We'll begin with the power of detachment, where we explore why letting go is the key to reclaiming your peace. From there, we'll uncover the path to happiness, rooted in focusing on what you can control rather than what you can't. We'll also delve into embracing the present moment, a core Stoic practice that anchors you in now rather than what could have been or should have been. But that's not all. You'll learn how to reframe your thoughts to change your emotional narrative, how to set healthy boundaries without guilt, and how to engage in self-care to nourish your mind and body as you navigate the detachment process. And finally, we'll close with practicing gratitude and cultivating a contented life, showing you how to find joy and fulfillment beyond any single relationship. Before we dive in, take a moment to reflect. Who or what in your life might be holding you back emotionally? What would it feel like to release that weight and focus on your own peace? As we go through these principles, keep those questions in mind. They might just reveal the clarity you've been seeking. If this sounds like a journey you're ready to embark on, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Here at Stoic Relationships, we're all about equipping you with tools to live with strength, intention, and peace. All right, folks, let's get started. Rule number 1, the power of detachment. Hey, folks, let's dive into the first and most foundational rule, the power of detachment. If you've ever felt consumed by emotions tied to someone, a partner, a friend, or even a family member, you'll know how exhausting it can be. But here's the thing. Detachment isn't about cutting people off or becoming indifferent. It's about learning to let go of the emotional weight that keeps you from living freely and authentically. Let me ask you this. How many times have you replayed a conversation in your head, wishing you'd said something different, or spent hours worrying about what someone thinks of you? We've all been there. But folks, when you allow yourself to get caught in these loops, you're giving away your emotional power. Detachment is the practice of reclaiming that power. So, what does detachment really mean? At its core, it's the ability to care for others without becoming overly attached to their actions, opinions, or outcomes. It's about creating space between you and the emotions that threaten to overwhelm you. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting those feelings control you. Let's look at an example. Imagine you're deeply invested in a friendship, but this friend has started pulling away. Naturally, you feel hurt. Maybe you overanalyze their behavior, wondering what you did wrong or how you can fix things. But here's the truth. Folks, their actions are beyond your control. Detachment allows you to accept their behavior without letting it define your self-worth. It lets you focus on what you can control, your reaction, your boundaries, and your peace of mind. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about that for a second. The key to detachment isn't in changing others. It's in changing how you respond to them. This shift in perspective is what gives detachment its incredible power. But let's be real, detachment isn't easy. It takes practice and a willingness to confront your own patterns of attachment. Start by asking yourself, why am I holding on so tightly to this person or situation? Often, our attachments stem from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loss, or fear of being alone. When you identify the root of your attachment, you can begin to release it. Here's a simple exercise to help you practice detachment. When you find yourself getting emotionally entangled, pause and take a deep breath. Remind yourself, this feeling is temporary. I don't have to act on it. Folks, this pause creates space between you and your emotions, allowing you to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Another way to cultivate detachment is by shifting your focus inward. When we're overly attached, it's often because we're seeking validation or fulfillment from others. Detachment reminds us that true peace and happiness come from within. Invest in activities that nurture your well-being, whether it's journaling, meditating, or pursuing a passion. These practices ground you in your own value, independent of external validation. Let me share a quick story. A close friend of mine went through a tough breakup. She was consumed by questions like, why did this happen? What could I have done differently? But over time, she began practicing detachment. Instead of trying to change the past, she focused on healing herself. She started journaling, spending time in nature, and reconnecting with her passions. Folks, the transformation was incredible. She didn't just move on, she grew stronger, wiser, and more at peace. Let me ask you this. Is there someone or something in your life that you need to detach from? What would it feel like to release that weight and focus on your own peace instead? Drop a quick "I choose freedom" in the comments if this resonates with you. And here's the thing, folks. The power of detachment isn't just about letting go. It's about creating space for something better. In the next part, we'll uncover how focusing on happiness and what truly matters can be a game changer. Stick around. You don't want to miss this. Rule number 2, the path to happiness. Hey folks, let's talk about something we're all chasing in one way or another. Happiness. It's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Yet, it often feels elusive. Why is that? Well, According to Stoicism, one of the biggest obstacles to happiness is focusing on the wrong things. Things we can't control, or things that don't truly matter. The path to happiness isn't found in external success or validation. It's an internal journey, one that begins with shifting your mindset and priorities. Let's start by busting a common myth. Happiness isn't something you achieve. It's not tied to a specific moment, accomplishment, or person. Instead, happiness is a state of mind, cultivated by the choices you make every single day. Folks, think about it. How often have you told yourself, "I'll be happy when," whether it's getting a promotion, finding the perfect partner, or achieving a goal? We attach happiness to future events. But when those things happen, the joy is fleeting, and we move the goalpost again. The Stoics understood this well. That's why they emphasized focusing on what's within your control and letting go of attachments to external outcomes. Marcus Aurelius said it beautifully. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Happiness isn't about what happens to you. It's about how you interpret it. This is why some people can find joy in the simplest of things, while others struggle to be content no matter how much they have. The path to happiness lies in cultivating a mindset of gratitude, resilience, and acceptance. One key step on this path is redefining your idea of success. In today's world, we're bombarded with messages that equate happiness with wealth, status, or possessions. But folks, these things are fleeting. True happiness comes from living in alignment with your values. Ask yourself, what truly matters to me? When you prioritize integrity, kindness, and personal growth, you build a foundation for lasting happiness, one that can't be shaken by external circumstances. Here's a practical exercise to try. Take a moment to reflect on the last week. What brought you genuine happiness? Was it a quiet moment with a loved one? Finishing a project you're proud of? Or maybe it was something as simple as a walk in the park. Now ask yourself, how can I create more moments like these? Happiness doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from being present and intentional in the small moments. Another essential step is learning to let go of comparison. Folks, one of the quickest ways to rob yourself of happiness is by constantly measuring yourself against others. Social media, for example, makes it easy to fall into the trap of thinking, they have a better job, a nicer home, a happier life than me. But here's the truth. Comparison is the thief of joy. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Focus on your own growth, your own path, and your own happiness. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine was always chasing the next big thing. Promotions, fancy vacations, you name it. But no matter what he achieved, he never felt satisfied. One day, he decided to simplify his life. He started focusing on spending time with his family, helping others, and pursuing hobbies he loved. Folks, the change was incredible. He wasn't just happier, he was more at peace, more fulfilled. This is the power of aligning your actions with what truly matters. And here's where Stoicism comes into play again. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The less you tie your happiness to external things, the more content you become. This doesn't mean you can't strive for success or enjoy life's pleasures. It means your happiness doesn't depend on them. So, let me ask you this. What's one thing you could let go of that's been holding you back from true happiness? Maybe it's the need for approval, or the habit of comparing yourself to others. Drop a quick, "I choose happiness" in the comments if you're ready to start focusing on what really matters. And folks, this isn't just about feeling good. It's about creating a life rooted in peace and purpose. In the next section, We'll explore how embracing the present moment can deepen your happiness and help you detach from the things that no longer serve you. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. Rule number 3. Embrace the present moment. Hey folks, let's talk about a practice that's simple in theory but transformative in execution. Embracing the present moment. It's something we hear about all the time, but let's be honest, it's not always easy to do. Is it? Our minds tend to wander, replaying the past or worrying about the future. But here's the thing. Life is happening right now, and the present moment is all we truly have. Learning to live fully in the here and now is one of the most powerful steps you can take toward emotional detachment and inner peace. Let's start with why the present moment is so important. Folks, think about the last time you felt truly at peace. Chances are, it wasn't because you were dwelling on a mistake from years ago or obsessing over what might happen tomorrow. It was because you were fully engaged in now. Maybe you were enjoying a conversation with a loved one, watching a sunset, or simply savoring a good cup of coffee. That's the power of presence. It allows you to experience life as it is, without the noise of what-ifs and should-haves. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." What he meant is that the present is where your power lies. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. But the present is where you can act, think, and live. When you focus on the now, you free yourself from the burden of regrets and anxieties that hold you back. So, how do we embrace the present moment in a world that constantly pulls us away from it? Let's start with mindfulness. Folks, mindfulness doesn't have to mean sitting in meditation for hours. It's about being fully engaged in whatever you're doing. If you're eating, taste your food. If you're listening to someone, give them your full attention. These small acts of presence can make a big difference in how you experience life. Here's a quick exercise. The next time you feel your mind drifting, take a deep breath and bring your focus back to the sensations around you. Notice the sounds, sights, and smells of your environment. Folks, this simple practice helps anchor you in the now and reminds you that this moment is enough. Another way to embrace the present moment is to let go of the need for perfection. Often, we resist the present because it doesn't look the way we think it should. Maybe you're having a bad day or something hasn't gone as planned. But here's the truth. Life isn't about perfection, it's about presence. When you stop waiting for the perfect moment, you realize that every moment has its own value, even the messy ones. Let me share a story. A friend of mine used to spend so much time planning for the future that she missed out on what was happening in the moment. She'd stress about upcoming projects, overanalyze every decision, and constantly worry about what was next. But one day, she decided to start journaling about her daily experiences. Not the future, not the past, just what she noticed each day. Folks, it changed everything for her. By focusing on the present, she found more joy and less stress in her life. But let's address the challenge. Staying present isn't always easy, especially when life gets overwhelming. One of the best tools you can use is gratitude. When you focus on what you're grateful for in the moment, it shifts your perspective. Maybe it's as simple as appreciating the warmth of the sun on your skin or the sound of laughter from a loved one. Gratitude grounds you in the now and helps you see the beauty that's already around you. Epictetus put it best. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Embracing the present moment doesn't mean ignoring your goals or challenges. It means finding contentment in the process of living, no matter where you are. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly felt present? What was happening in that moment? And how did it make you feel? Drop a quick "I choose now" in the comments if you're ready to start embracing the present moment. And folks, this practice isn't just about finding peace. It's about building a foundation for the rest of your life. In the next section, we'll explore how reframing your thoughts can further transform your mindset and help you let go of emotional attachments. Stick around, you won't want to miss this. Rule number 4, reframe your thoughts. Hey folks, let's dive into one of the most transformative Stoic practices: reframing your thoughts. Our minds are incredibly powerful. They shape how we perceive the world and, ultimately, how we feel. When you reframe your thoughts, you're not just changing the way you think. You're changing your entire experience of life. This practice is a cornerstone of Stoicism and one of the most effective tools for emotional detachment. Let's start with a simple idea. It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that matters. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You could think, "This is awful. I'm wasting so much time." Or you could think, "This is a chance to listen to my favorite podcast or just enjoy a moment of stillness." Folks, the event is the same. The difference lies in how you frame it. Reframing allows you to take control of your perspective, no matter the situation. The Stoics believed that our emotions don't come from external events. They come from our judgments about those events. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." This means that by changing the way you think, you can change how you feel. And the best part, this power is entirely within your control. So, how do you start reframing your thoughts? The first step is awareness. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. When something doesn't go as planned, what's your initial reaction? Do you immediately jump to negative conclusions? Folks, catching these automatic thoughts is the first step toward changing them. Here's a practical exercise. When you notice a negative thought, pause and ask yourself, is this thought helping me, or is it holding me back? If it's the latter, try reframing it. For example, instead of thinking, "I failed at this task," think, "I learned something valuable that will help me succeed next time." This simple shift can make a world of difference in how you approach challenges. Let's take this a step further. Reframing isn't just about thinking positively, it's about thinking realistically. Sometimes, our negative thoughts are based on assumptions rather than facts. For instance, if someone doesn't reply to your message right away, you might think, "They're ignoring me." But a more realistic frame could be, "They might be busy or haven't seen my message yet." Folks, reframing helps you step out of the emotional spiral and see situations more clearly. Another key to reframing your thoughts is focusing on what you can control. When faced with a difficult situation, ask yourself, "What can I do in this moment?" Instead of dwelling on what's wrong, shift your energy toward what's possible. This aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy. Focus on your actions and let go of the rest. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine used to get extremely anxious before public speaking. Her thoughts would spiral. What if I mess up? What if people judge me? But she started practicing reframing. Instead of seeing the audience as critics, she began seeing them as people who wanted her to succeed. Folks, this one shift transformed her experience. She didn't just perform better, she actually started enjoying it. Let's tie this back to Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Reframing your thoughts is how you harness that power. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing a perspective that empowers you rather than drains you. So, let me ask you, what's one thought you could reframe today? Maybe it's about a challenge you're facing or a relationship that's been weighing on you. Drop a quick "I choose a better frame" in the comments if this resonates with you. And folks, if you've found value in this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Here at Stoic Relationships, we're all about providing tools and insights to help you live with clarity, strength, and purpose. By subscribing, you'll stay connected with more practical advice like this. Here's the takeaway. Reframing your thoughts isn't about ignoring life's difficulties. It's about choosing a perspective that helps you grow, rather than one that holds you back. In the next section, we'll explore how setting healthy boundaries can further strengthen your emotional detachment. Stick around. Folks, you won't want to miss this. Rule number 5. Set healthy boundaries. Hey folks, let's talk about something that's absolutely crucial for emotional detachment. Setting healthy boundaries. It's a concept we all know is important. But let's be honest, it's easier said than done, right? Whether it's with friends, family, or co-workers, many of us struggle with boundaries because we're afraid of conflict, rejection, or being seen as selfish. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about protecting your peace. Let's start with why boundaries matter so much. Folks, without boundaries, it's easy to get overwhelmed and drained by other people's expectations, emotions, and behaviors. Think about a time when you said yes to something you didn't really want to do. How did it make you feel? Probably resentful, stressed, or even frustrated with yourself. Setting boundaries allows you to avoid these situations by clearly defining what you will and won't accept. The Stoics offer a powerful perspective on this. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." In other words, when you know your values, priorities, and limits, you can set boundaries that align with them. Boundaries aren't about controlling others, they're about staying true to yourself. So, how do you start setting healthy boundaries? The first step is self-awareness. Take some time to reflect on what's been draining your energy or causing you stress. Is it a friend who always unloads their problems onto you? A coworker who expects you to pick up their slack? Folks, identifying these situations is key to understanding where boundaries are needed. Once you've identified the areas where boundaries are lacking, the next step is communicating them clearly. This doesn't mean you have to be harsh or confrontational. A simple, respectful statement can go a long way. For example, if a friend keeps calling you late at night, you could say, "I value our conversations, but I need to set a boundary around my evenings to recharge. Let's catch up during the day instead." Notice how this approach sets a limit without rejecting the person. Here's something to keep in mind. Boundaries aren't just about saying no, they're about saying yes to the things that matter. When you set boundaries, you're prioritizing your time, energy, and emotional well-being. This allows you to show up fully for the people and activities that align with your values. But let's address the elephant in the room. Guilt. Many of us feel guilty when we set boundaries, especially if the other person reacts poorly. Folks, this is normal, but it's important to remember that boundaries aren't about pleasing others. They're about protecting your peace. And here's the thing. People who truly respect and care about you will respect your boundaries, too. Those who don't, that says more about them than it does about you. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine used to struggle with boundaries at work. She'd say yes to every request, even when her plate was already full. Over time, she became burned out and resentful. But one day, she decided to start setting limits. She began saying, "I'd love to help, but I can't take this on right now." At first, she worried about how her co-workers would react, but to her surprise, many of them respected her honesty and even started setting their own boundaries. Let's connect this back to Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Setting boundaries is an act of reclaiming that power. It's about focusing on what you can control: your time, your energy, and your emotional health, and letting go of the need to control others' reactions. Here's a practical tip: start small. You don't have to set massive boundaries all at once. Begin with one area of your life where you feel overextended. Maybe it's committing to too many social events, or always being the one to initiate plans. Practice setting a gentle but firm boundary, and notice how it makes you feel. Folks, every boundary you set is a step toward greater peace and self-respect. So, let me ask you, where in your life do you need to set a boundary? Is it with a specific person, or maybe with how much you give to others? Drop a quick "I choose boundaries" in the comments if this resonates with you. And if you're finding value in these Stoic principles, hit that subscribe button. Here at Stoic Relationships, we're all about giving you the tools to create balance, clarity, and emotional resilience in your life. Here's the takeaway. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's about protecting your energy so you can live in alignment with your values and priorities. In the next section, we'll explore how self-care plays a vital role in detachment and emotional well-being. Stick around, folks, you won't want to miss it. Rule number 6, engage in self-care. Hey folks, let's take a moment to focus on something we often overlook when we talk about emotional detachment: engaging in self-care. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Self-care has become such a buzzword these days, thrown around in everything from social media posts to ads for bubble baths. But true self-care goes much deeper than indulgent treats or temporary fixes. It's about taking consistent, intentional steps to nurture your emotional, physical, and mental well-being. Here's the thing: detaching from someone emotionally isn't just about creating distance from them. It's about coming closer to yourself. When you engage in self-care, you're sending yourself a powerful message. I matter. My peace matters. My well-being matters. And folks, when you start prioritizing yourself in this way, it becomes much easier to let go of the attachments that drain your energy. So, what does self-care really look like? Let's start with the basics. Your physical health. It might sound unrelated, but your body and mind are deeply connected. When you're physically well, getting enough sleep, eating nourishing foods, staying active, it's much easier to maintain emotional resilience. Think about it. How often do you feel more irritable or reactive when you're tired or hungry? By taking care of your physical needs, you're building a strong foundation for emotional strength. But self-care isn't just about your body. It's also about your mind. Folks, your inner dialogue matters. How do you talk to yourself when things don't go as planned? Are you kind and encouraging, or do you tend to be overly critical? Practicing self-compassion is one of the most powerful forms of self-care. The next time you catch yourself being harsh, pause and ask, would I say this to a friend? If not, reframe your thoughts with kindness and understanding. Another key aspect of self-care is creating space for the things that bring you joy. When was the last time you did something just because it made you happy? Maybe it's painting, gardening, playing music, or simply spending time in nature. Folks, these activities aren't just hobbies. They're acts of self-love. They remind you that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's opinion or approval. And let's not forget about rest. In a world that glorifies busyness, taking time to rest can feel like a luxury. But here's the truth. Rest is essential. It's during moments of stillness that we recharge, reflect, and reconnect with ourselves. Whether it's through meditation, journaling, or simply taking a quiet walk. Find moments in your day to slow down and breathe. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This all sounds great, but I don't have time for self-care. Folks, here's the thing. Self-care doesn't have to be time-consuming or elaborate. It can be as simple as starting your morning with a few deep breaths, drinking water when you feel thirsty, or saying no to something that doesn't serve you. These small acts, when done consistently, add up to a life where you feel more grounded and at peace. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine went through a tough breakup and found herself feeling lost and unworthy. She decided to commit to a daily self-care routine, not just for physical health, but for emotional healing. She started journaling every morning, going for walks, and spending time on activities she loved but had neglected. Folks, the change was remarkable. Over time, she stopped seeking validation from her ex and started finding joy in her own company. That's the power of self-care. It helps you reconnect with your own strength. Let's tie this back to Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Engaging in self-care is how you exercise that power. It's not about fixing everything that's wrong. It's about building the resilience to handle life's challenges with grace and clarity. So, let me ask you, what's one self-care practice you can start today? Maybe it's going to bed a little earlier, taking a few minutes to meditate, or simply doing something that brings you joy. Drop a quick "I choose self-care" in the comments if this resonates with you. Here's the takeaway. Self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. When you take care of yourself, you're not just improving your own well-being. You're creating a life where emotional detachment becomes natural and effortless. In the next section, we'll explore how practicing gratitude can deepen your sense of peace and contentment. Stick around. Folks, you won't want to miss it. Rule number 7. Practice gratitude and a contented life. Hey folks, let's wrap this journey with one of the most powerful yet overlooked practices in life. Gratitude. It's simple, transformative, and at the core of a contented life. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you or appreciating the big wins. It's about recognizing the abundance already present in your life, no matter how small. When you cultivate gratitude, you shift your focus from what's missing to what's here, and that simple shift can change everything. Let's start with a question. How often do you pause to acknowledge the good in your life? It's so easy to get caught up in what's wrong, what you don't have, what didn't go as planned. But folks, when you focus on what's lacking, you're training your mind to live in a constant state of dissatisfaction. Gratitude flips this script. It reminds you that there's already so much to appreciate, even in the messiness of life. The Stoics understood the power of gratitude deeply. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." Practicing gratitude isn't about denying life's challenges. It's about finding joy in the midst of them. It's about recognizing that even in difficult times, there's something to be thankful for, the lessons learned, the support of loved ones, or even just the strength to keep going. Here's a practical way to start practicing gratitude. Keep a gratitude journal. Every evening, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for that day. They don't have to be big. Maybe it's the warmth of the sun on your face, a kind word from a friend, or the quiet moment you had with your morning coffee. Folks, the act of writing them down trains your brain to notice and appreciate these moments more often. Another way to practice gratitude is to express it. How often do you tell the people in your life that you appreciate them? A simple thank you can go a long way. not just in strengthening relationships, but in reminding yourself of the good people and connections you have. Gratitude, when shared, multiplies. Let me share a story. A mentor of mine once told me about a dark period in his life when everything seemed to be falling apart. His career, his relationships, his sense of self. He started a gratitude practice as a way to regain balance. Every day, he wrote down one thing he was grateful for, no matter how small. Folks, over time, this simple practice shifted his perspective. He began to see opportunities where he once saw obstacles, and he found strength in the things he had, rather than despair in what he'd lost. That's the magic of gratitude. It doesn't change your circumstances, but it changes how you see them. Gratitude also lays the foundation for contentment. Folks, contentment doesn't mean settling or giving up on your goals. It means finding peace where you are, even as you work toward where you want to be. When you practice gratitude, you stop chasing happiness in external things and start finding it within. Epictetus said it best. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. And here's the thing. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good practice. Studies show that it reduces stress, improves relationships, and even boosts physical health. When you take the time to acknowledge and appreciate what's good in your life, you're not just improving your mindset, you're improving your overall well-being. Let me ask you this. What's one thing you're grateful for today? It doesn't have to be big, just something that brought a little light into your day. Take a moment to reflect on it, and maybe even share it with someone. Folks, gratitude is contagious, and the more you practice it, the more you'll find to be thankful for. Here's the takeaway for this final rule. Gratitude is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It helps you see that, no matter what, there's always something to appreciate. When you practice gratitude consistently, you're not just creating a habit, you're creating a life rooted in peace, joy, and contentment. Hey folks, thank you for spending your time here today. I hope these 7 Stoic rules have given you the tools and insights to navigate emotional detachment with strength and clarity. Remember, detachment isn't about disconnecting from the world. It's about reconnecting with yourself and your inner peace. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments which rule resonated with you the most. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can join our community and explore more ways to build resilience and wisdom in your relationships. Until next time, take care of yourself, practice what we've discussed, and keep moving toward the calm and contented life you deserve. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.